you don't have to agree with my feelings, but like have compassion for my feelings and empathize with my feelings, because to me they're valid.
But I think that's a big thing. Like, you shouldn't feel like that, because that just like totally displaces a person and makes them feel like they can't come to you. So I think we do a real good job at that. Like, okay, I'm bringing this to you. This is how I feel. She acknowledges that. I acknowledge how she feels in an argument, and then we try to work to the best outcome that keeps us locked in. And that's what I think it is. Like, I think sometimes people don't really realize that, like, we're not here to fight each other. Like, we're not here to be against each other. It's like when you play with Kobe, like, we on the same team, man. We're on the Lakers. I'm not a Celtic and you're a Laker. You see what I'm saying? So like, and I know it sounds cheesy, but it's like, really, I think sometimes people lose the idea of like, we're on the same team.
We're teammates. Yeah.
We're teammates.
Absolutely.
And so everything that we do has to be for us to preserve what we have and to keep going and like on to the next thing. So, and it's really, I really think we're blessed that we both found each other and that we have these mindsets that like work together like that. Because like you said, not everyone has that.
Yeah.
Relationships matter. I need you to understand. Relationships matter.
Welcome to Relationships Matter. I'm Chanel Nicole Scott.
And I am Josh Powell.
We have some amazing guests with us here today. The Kirks, social media influencers. I'll watch you guys' video. We have Greg and Aries. Welcome to the show.
We're happy to be here.
Yes. So guys, they do videos on relational but comical videos that are extremely funny.
Thank you.
And I'll follow them on social media. So it's exciting to have you guys here. So I want to get all in your business.
Let's go.
Let's go. I want to start with you guys' story.
Okay.
How did y'all meet?
I always like when you tell the story, so just go ahead.
I know it's going to be good.
College, Clayton State University, undergrad.
In South Carolina?
No, here.
Here? Okay.
Outside.
Okay, my bad.
Morrow, Georgia.
Sorry.
With the L.
Yeah, Morrow, Georgia.
Morrow, Georgia.
I seen her around campus a couple of times, and I seen her walking, and she always had style to me. So and I'm not really like a, hey, what's up, what's your number, let me take you out type of guy. But like, I seen her and I was like, okay, one time I said, you look like Carrie Hilson. And then the next time I seen her, I was like, I really like your style, but like, I never tried to talk to her. So then like, fast forward, probably like a year later, I was sitting in a class and like the other people were in the class was starting, and she was like the last person to walk through the door.
Wow.
And it just, seriously, like no exaggeration, it seemed like everything just went in slow motion. I was just like, wow. So then this girl next to me was like, I bet you won't be sitting next to me by the end of the class. And I was like, you're right. But like, it took me probably like 60 days to ask her out on a date. So that was in January. Spring break is normally in like March in college. So I asked her on a date, and we've been rocking ever since.
Why the 60? Why the 60 with the year, you had 2 times, you done shot your shot, kind of, sort of?
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I always just been like, I don't know if it's like nervous, but like, I just kind of was like, I wanted to feel her out. And so we were in the same class, so we had to do a couple of projects together, a couple of assignments together. So through the class, I got real comfortable, like just being around, like being myself. So finally I was just like, hey, can I take you out on a date? And she said, yeah. And we've been together ever since.
Why'd you say yeah? I mean, I want to ask, because he waited 60. I'm probably sure. I'm just going to throw a dart. Just let me know if it sticks.
I mean, I was waiting. I was like, okay.
Oh, you was waiting.
Oh,
okay.
Waiting, so he took
It's about time. I mean, I thought he was cute.
Hey.
He seemed to have his stuff together. He was responsible and, took care of business, and he seemed like a good guy.
Then I'm older. I'm older than her, so she was younger than me. Oh, we have like an 8-year age difference.
Okay.
But y'all was in school together?
Yeah,
Yes.
so I'm non-traditional.
Okay.
That's a whole other story, like high school dropout, got into trouble, but then I just kind of like found my way back and ended up going to college, and she was there. So,
Okay.
What's high school?
what high school? Lovejoy. Lovejoy High School.
Lovejoy.
Yeah, in Hampton. Yep. And I was supposed to graduate in '98,
Got you.
but I got kicked out. Just veering off from what I was as a young guy. Parents got divorced, left me open to some stuff, so I just made some bad decisions, man. But I ended up being able to get back. So
then I gotta ask you a question, because you said your parents were divorced. Why is relationship important to you?
I think because of that,
Okay.
because of my parents divorcing, they were married for like 19 years, and then your parents.
I mean, my parents got divorced. I was very young, so I didn't have a model for what marriage was supposed to look like. So it's really only by the grace of God that I got married and it's been successful, because I didn't have a model for it. I didn't know what it was supposed to look like.
So then how do y'all make it work?
we pray a lot. Like, we pray a lot together, and then we just have like a selfless type of mentality going into things. Like, I mean, there are things that I like to do that she might not like to do, and things that she might like to do that I don't like to do. But it's like, you have to put yourself aside sometimes in order for the greater good to prevail in the marriage, like, I don't know if she loved content creating. Like, that wasn't like something that she woke up.
You did know that I did not. You did know that I did not. But it's okay. We're here now.
How do you guys even orchestrate that? I'm just curious.
He is the brainchild. He is the mastermind behind it. I just show up and I'm just the talent.
She's the star of the show.
I just show up.
The comments. I could tell people like gravitate to her more, like, because she's like has like a more of a like sparky, funny personality than me. I'm more like the chill, laid back type of guy. But my sister watched YouTube, Queen and Clarence, some other big YouTubers, and she would always tell us like, y'all look so good together, your kids are beautiful, like, y'all should start doing social media. And I used to do music, so I was always like into entertainment, but my music career didn't really work out, which is what brought me to college. But I was just like, let's try it. I had to talk to her for a little while to get her to do it. And then we just kind of just jumped out there during the pandemic, started doing it. Didn't really know our way though. Like, it was like, our first stuff is all on YouTube. And we were kind of just trying to fit in, trying to find our lane.
We had to find what worked for us and what was true and organic to us, that people...
The different scenarios that you guys act out, right?
Yes.
So, and it wasn't even so much relationship stuff back then. Like, we were kind of doing the stuff that they do on YouTube. Like, let's go to McDonald's and let the person like order in front of us, and then we say, hey, give us what they order, and we're trying out food. So it wasn't like
just doing the trendy stuff because we thought that's what would get the viewers. But
But the whole time I was praying, like, God, help us find out what we're supposed to be doing, because I felt like it was important that we're making deposits into the people who are viewing us, instead of us just like coming to social media with the mentality like we're just trying to get rich. Like, I want to make sure that we're leaving a positive trail, and like people are actually getting their spirits lifted from things that we do, and it's positive. So after I think like 2 years, we did a relationship video, and it like shot out to like a few 100,000. I was like, okay, God kind of showed us what to do without even like, it just seemed like we just happened upon it. So
How long, going kind of back a little bit, how long have y'all been married for?
So
10
it's
years.
been 10 years.
Y'all been married 10 years.
10 years together,
for
12.
12, okay.
12, yeah.
So I know you speaking of upbringing, and you viewed relationships differently because, again, your parents got divorced super early, and then yours after almost 20 years.
20 years,
What do you take, right, being the leader in your relationship, like, what do you take from that 20 to add positively to where you and your wife are headed?
So I think a lot of my dad, really good guy, passed away a couple of years ago. Miss him. But I seen things that he did when he was married to my mom. Not super bad things, but just choices that he made that kind of like led to the demise of their relationship. And I just always...
If you don't mind, could you Give an example.
Elaborate. Like
Yeah.
my dad, he drank a little bit.
Okay.
You know, like he used to like to stay out sometimes, and sometimes on Friday nights we would have like Friday night family night.
Mm-hmm.
Me, my mom, my sister, my dad. Sometimes he wouldn't come. So it was kind of like a situation to where he's supposed to be there, but then he's choosing other things
Whatever
over
else,
the
yeah.
family, right? So I mean, those things stick out to me as a man. Like I don't ever want to be in a situation to where my daughter's like I'm choosing to do something over spending time with them, right? Or I'm making decisions that are gonna, like my wife is actively telling me, don't do this, or you're getting too close to this person at work. Like I think we just talked about something the other day about like, if she came to me and was like, you're too close to this woman or lady who you work with, or I used to smoke weed. Like if you're smoking weed too much, it's starting to affect I would quit. Like I would quit immediately because I feel like that is something that she's bringing to me, telling me this is going to jeopardize our relationship.
Why do you think people struggle with making that proper decision? Because I know for me, I can speak to a past relationship, you know, things were brought up. And for me, I was like, all right, if you have an issue over here, then okay, cool. Then let's make it an even thing across the board. And it's like, no, I'm not doing that. And had all these examples as to why. Why do you feel that?
I think it's just more so wanting to survive the relationship. Like I don't want to make excuses. Like I don't want to make excuses or say like, you know, if I stop doing this, you have to stop doing this, or make it like deflect to where
It's a pride issue.
Yeah, and like I think that's one of the biggest things that we try to like cut out of our relationship. And we're not perfect. Like, you know, we have problems to where, not problems, but we have issues to where we disagree. And I might get upset and we might not talk for a few hours a day or something like that. But overall, it's like, all right, I know if this is, you're telling me this, it's important to you that I need to do it. And like, so it's a mentality of like not trying to downplay what a person is bringing to you, because it's almost like saying your feelings are invalid.
And I think it's a great point, right? You raise a great point. It's also dangerous too, because some people, from a controlling standpoint, it has nothing to do with anything. Yeah, they just want to see you move and be this way. Yeah, you know what I mean.
Say, what if you don't agree with what you're being asked to do? How do you manage that?
Yeah, because I mean, it's good. It's a great topic, and it's something that people struggle with, because what is healthy and what isn't, especially when people know, right? Like, I'm not here to control anybody. Me being transparent, like in my former relationship, you know, she had an issue. She was like, well, I need for you to cut all the female friends that you got. All right, you know, this is for the house, it's gonna make you feel right. But then I'm like, you know, well, why? You know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem doing it, but why? You feel me? Like, at least tell me. Yeah. And then you're like, your answer wasn't really, it just wasn't sufficient enough. So I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'm still gonna do it. But then I noticed that you have these relationships you have. Like, how do you feel about that? I'm not cutting mine. They've been here for me since, and I'm like, okay, that's interesting. That's why I asked, you feel me, like to go into more detail, because I wasn't making it a tit for tat, but it was just.
Definitely inquire about, well, where is this coming from? Like, what is the issue behind the issue? Okay, so is this an insecurity that has nothing to do with me? Like, is this something that you dealt with another person and you're making me pay for it, and now I have to get rid of these relationships because the last person, you know, went outside of the relationship with other people who they were close to? So it's getting behind the issue, underneath the issue.
The
The real issue. But then what if you still don't disagree, or if the person does it because they asked you to, then you develop a level of resentment. You know, now you're walking around with a chip on your shoulder.
Resentment is real. Resentment is real.
It really is.
So I would say, I mean, like with the whole content creation journey, it's crazy because people always say, what you pray for sometimes is where the enemy attacks you the most, right? And like, we've been like locked in, not really having bad fights or anything, but like these last 2 years, so I lost my job like 2 years ago, right? Got to like the pinnacle of like my money making career and then got let go like 6 months after I changed jobs, right? But then when I got let go is when we started hitting like millions of views on social media, right? But it's been crazy because I'm not making the money that I used to be making, right? But then like we're more locked in on social media, and we've kind of been at odds a little bit, not currently, but just in the beginning. Like I'm in a mindset to where I'm like, man, I'm a man. I got to be able to provide for my wife. So I'm just trying to go crazy with everything. Like we need to record. And she's like, we got to have balance. We got to be, and she's not wanting to move at the rate that I'm wanting to move. So it's been like, I don't want to say a power struggle.
It's hard to navigate because we have different styles in in the way that we work. We're very different. He's like, more got to get it done right now. When he says something like
urgency.
Yes, everything is urgent for him. And me, I'm just more like laid back and like, I'll get it done when I get it done. It's not that deep. Like, it'll get done.
I'm the one with the sense of urgency. I'm like, I'll do it right today. Why do it tomorrow if you could do it today?
But see, that's how I feel. And I mean, I think a person who has like a lower sense of urgency can still be successful.
Yeah, of course.
But I think that the way I move, I believe that is the reason, and I don't want to put it solely on me, but I believe that it's the reason why we're seeing some type of level of growth the way we are, just because I'm like a madman. But I've always been like this. Even when I did music, it was like I was the person who, I was in a group. I was like the manager while we were in the group rapping. Like, I'm like, we got to record this. We got to go to the studio this day. We need to be recording while we're in the studio. So like, if we get a deal, we can shop the video to MTV. It's like CEO brain with no money. No CEO. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what I bring to this.
The consistency of that is how you get the opportunity, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Because it's small wins that takes you to the big one. I'm like that too. Very purpose driven, very focused, know what I want to do. I'm a creator. I'm going to create. I'm like, one of these projects going to hit. Yeah. One of them going to hit. I'm just like that.
Yeah. And I think that's a gift. Like not everybody has that. Like that's a
But he
gift.
gave you me for a reason. It's
me.
balance.
To balance.
Exactly.
Balance. And yin and yang. I mean, I need her back because I would probably drop myself into the ground.
You would.
I definitely would. I know I would.
So when we get back, no, that's great. We're gonna take a break, right? Okay. But when we get back, you touched on something, and I know that transition is heavy, but I want to ask you, Queen, what was that like for you, right? Because when a man, is here and then there's something that happens and there's a chink in that armor, right? I've seen it on social media. I know personally, in my circles, just how some women can view that situation and they could lose respect for their partner. Just want to, when we get back, just tap into what that moment was like for you and how were you towards your husband at that time. Yeah. And I know there's some women out there, well, that's her husband. At least there's still some women, even if that's their husband, it's like, nah, bruh, this ain't it.
Emasculation.
Man, quickly. So I think this is a great growth moment, and it can help somebody because at the end of the day, there's something there because your king is still here. Y'all still rocking heavy. So when we get back, relationships matter.
Relationships matter.
What's going on, good people? We are back, and before the break, I was asking the Kirks a question. Bringing it your way, Queen, because I know that we were talking about him losing his job. And I just think this is a powerful teaching moment. I don't know what you're about to say. Let me put that disclaimer out there. But I think the conversation is worthy to help somebody because we've seen boyfriends, fiancés, husbands lose their job or something traumatic happen in a relationship, and then it's like the amount of respect goes out the window immediately. So, I'll give you the floor.
I mean, for me, that was not an issue because I know my husband, I know Greg is not a loser. So, I mean, even though he lost his job, I mean, he's not just sitting around the house doing nothing. Like as far as the content creation, like everything is his brainchild. Like he does everything, and even though the money is not the same, like he still is the leader of the house and the breadwinner in other ways. Like even if he's not bringing in the money, it's other ways that he is like lifting up the family and helping like with the kid. Like he's always there for his kids, supporting me emotionally. I mean, he supports me in other ways. So I mean, that was never, for me, it was never like an issue.
And I respect that. I think a lot of it was me in my own mind, just because like I told you guys.
Do you
like,
feel like I treated you differently?
I don't think so. I mean, I think that a lot of it was me in my own mind, just because like I said, I made a lot of mistakes, man. I made a lot of mistakes before I got to college and like kind of like turned everything around.
Right.
Like, I mean, not a felon or anything like that, but smoking weed all the time, getting locked up, just doing goofy stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I was doing music and like I was just always like, I'm gonna be a rapper or like I'm gonna be a writer and I don't have to depend on these jobs. So I didn't take a lot of stuff seriously, right? And I made a lot of bad choices. And then I went to school. So like I really worked hard. I got a master's degree, you know, finished my master's and worked as a secretary making like $16 an hour. So like when I got to where I was at, it was just like, dang, like how did this get taken away from me? So I put a lot of pressure on myself. Like I can't provide at the rate. Is she looking at me like I'm crazy? Because I mean, not to bring up past situations, because I like to say I never dated anyone before my wife. Like everything doesn't exist before my wife. But I mean, that's fictional, you know? Situations, women weren't like how she is to me in a situation like that. Like you lose your job, you got to go.
Oh, wow.
You see what I'm saying? I
Well,
mean,
I think
like,
a lot of them are. That's why I wanted to hear, you know, how was that for y'all? Because to your point though, right? As men, it's natural that we're going to put ourselves in that position. But to have somebody that's like, no, that's still my husband, that's still my rock. You know, I'm not going to view them in that way is powerful, because a lot of men don't get that.
yeah.
And I mean, there have been times when I was down and he had to support me. So why would I not give him that same support when he's down? Like that's what marriage is. That's what a relationship is.
Why
like
do you feel
lifting your
logically
person up.
though that doesn't hit?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because there's no disrespect to nobody. They feel how they feel. But why do you think that is a logical problem to try to get a woman to see that? Because I've heard all the stories on Instagram, like, I didn't have to work at all, and he uplifted me, and then I'm making 6-7 figures. And then when he lost his, you know, whatever, it's like I was turned off, and it's like, I don't want you no more. It's like, God,
wrong
dog.
motives. Marrying for the wrong motives.
I hear you, but in her mind, right, there's probably, if you were to ask her, if she was sitting here and we were just chopping it up, she might truly and thoroughly believe that he has no value. I don't know. That's why I'm asking, because there are a lot of teachings out here.
I mean, there's more value to a man than just
Him providing or paying the bills.
yes, him bringing money into the house.
Man, I appreciate you saying that. Hey, Dre, please, Dre, on everything I love, Dre, you better chop this thing up. Oh.
And I mean, that's just never been something that I've never been one of those girls who just looks to a man for money. I just want his love and his support. And I mean, I've been broke before. We've been broke before. We can be broke again. Like it's nothing. I mean, it's temporary. It's just a season, and we'll work our way through it together.
But that's what makes me love and respect her to the highest level. Just because I'm just like, I see her support and like how real she is, and like I've never really been loved like that to that level, to where like it's like, okay, you don't have money, you're not bringing in money at the rate that you were before, but you're still present with our daughters. Like you bring more to the table than money. And like, granted, money is a lot, because I mean, it changes everything. You know what I mean? We went from being able to buy clothes to going on dates every other week to not being able to do that stuff. So that frustration does weigh in on you. And I think sometimes, you know, you might get into little spats. The spats might be elevated in a different way. Like me not cleaning up the kitchen or emptying out something, she might be a little bit more frustrated with me because of that. But just the level of disrespect it never got to that point of like, hey, you're sorry, you're less of a man because you lost your job.
It almost seemed like you expected that, but you didn't get it.
I kind of did. Like, I mean,
From me?
not expected it.
Not in a personal way, but just...
Yeah, like I just thought that's like the default
Yeah.
setting for a woman
Yeah.
when a man loses a job. Right?
Yeah.
That's just the default setting. And we've had a few conversations to where I was kind of like projecting, like,
Yes.
are you really
You
upset
wanted
with
her to
me?
do it.
Yeah, like you're mad at me because
You
I lost my
wanted her to
job.
be.
Like I don't have the money. And she's like, I'm telling you, I'm not.
mad. Yeah.
Like,
I'm really
not.
mad because you didn't wash your own laundry. That's what I'm really mad about.
And like it was to the point like you're trying to play me. Like I'm not thinking about that. Like we're gonna have lows, peaks, and valleys, and we're just gonna be locked in and work our way through them.
Have y'all always been like locked into that magnitude? You feel like since the beginning of y'all's relationship, has that been like a part of your foundation, do you think?
What you think?
I think so.
I think so. I mean, and I know this is probably like, y'all are probably gonna think I'm crazy, but like, when we first got together, I think like a year in or something, like she left. Her family lives in Indiana. Like her mother lives in Indiana. And she left to go up there for Christmas for like 2 weeks. And bro, I was sick. Like literally, like it was like I didn't feel good. I was like, I need my baby back. So, I mean, and I know that's jokey, but like seriously, like we move together in everything that we do. Like, something happened with me to where I can't drive, she's driving. If she can't drive, I'm driving. Like it's like she said, flip flop. In the beginning, I was the breadwinner bringing in all the money, and she was trying to find her way, and I was holding the house down. Like she had a baby, she didn't work for a year. I was paying everything, and so it's just it's like a balance between us, and it's never a you don't do this or finger pointing, blaming. It's just like, we're willing to take ourselves out of something for the greater good of
So,
like our
Greg,
marriage.
how do you guys work through conflict when you can't agree?
So I'm more of a talker. I like to talk. I like to like get it out because I think it's healthy.
Right.
And I wasn't raised that way.
Yeah, but my family, my mom, we always talked about everything. Like I was raised to speak out my emotions. She wasn't. So sometimes when we get into conflict, she resorts to like fade into black. Like she doesn't really want to address the situation. And I want to talk about it so that it doesn't linger on.
Yeah.
Right. But that's another place where we've had a balance. Like sometimes I know I need to just fall back a little bit and give her space because she has to process the situation and think about what you're gonna say, right? In the situation. So I try not to just kill her with like, we need to talk about it right now. We need to hash these things out. I just will fall back a little bit and give her space. But then sometimes I'm just like, no, we do need to talk about it right now. We don't need to like keep dragging it on. So it's really just, we just try to pick and choose like which one best suits the moment, like depending on the severity of the disagreement.
I would ask Aries, knowing that it's important to have healthy communication with your spouse and tend to resort and say, I was raised that way. Like, but you know that in order to maintain the relationship, you have to communicate. So how do you overcome like whatever it is that make you say, I don't want to talk?
I
and
mean,
make
with him,
yourself-
I didn't really have a choice. Like, he doesn't really give me a choice. Like, I mean, he really brought me out of that. And I mean, your person has to make you feel safe to be able to do that. Because I think that's part of it. Sometimes you don't want to talk about stuff because you feel like the person may not understand or they may like shut you down or just make you feel like your feelings aren't valid. But I mean, he makes me feel safe to be able to say my piece. And,
So I'm gonna ask you to go a little bit deeper. How does he make you feel safe? I'm doing you now.
Well, no, I mean, I was going to ask the same because, I mean, what does safety look like for both of you?
like actually listening to what I'm saying and not just trying to get your point across and be right, but actually like hearing me and taking what I'm saying into consideration, having compassion for my I feel like that's a big thing for like, you don't have to agree with my feelings, but like have compassion for my feelings and empathize with my feelings, because to me they're valid.
But I think that's a big thing. Like, not, you shouldn't feel like that, because that just like totally displaces a person and makes them feel like they can't come to you. So I think we do a real good job at that. Like, okay, I'm bringing this to you. This is how I feel. She acknowledges that. I acknowledge how she feels in an argument, and then we try to work to the best outcome that keeps us locked in. And that's what I think it is. Like, I think sometimes people don't really realize that, like, we're not here to fight each other. Like, we're not here to be against each other. It's like when you play with Kobe, like, we on the same team. We're on the Lakers. I'm not a Celtic and you're a Laker. You see what I'm saying? So like, and I know it sounds cheesy, but it's like, really, I think sometimes people lose the idea of like, we're on the same team.
We're teammates.
We're teammates.
Absolutely.
And so everything that we do has to be for us to preserve what we have and to keep going and like on to the next thing. So, and it's really, I really think we're blessed that we both found each other and that we have these mindsets that like work together like that, because like you said, not everyone has that.
And I'm glad you spoke to like being teammates, because it's almost like a lot of relationships you see it's like competitive in some way, you know. And then there's like the comparison piece of like, you know, well, I'm doing X, Y, Z. Well, what are you doing? Or, you know, you have a person that is operating from a space of like, I'm gonna do this when you do that. You know, it's all of these damaging things that are happening in relationships, and it's refreshing to kind of hear that mindset, because a lot of people don't look at it like that. You know, it's like you have two individuals, but it's like, no, we're individuals, but we're still together going into this same trajectory, you know, or hopefully on the same journey to achieve the same thing, but not everybody goes in that mode, you know. And I think it was really powerful that y'all spoke to that. It's like so many things that could be differences. It's like y'all find a way to come together. You know.
I was gonna say, and I mean, not to get too biblical, but it says the two become one, and I mean, I really believe that we really try to like have that woven into like the fabric of our marriage. Like, it's really important to have that mindset. Like, it's just weird, because I always say, like, when we had children, we never sat down and had a discussion like, how are we gonna raise these girls? Like, are we not gonna whoop our children? It's just like, we just were automatically on the same page. And I'm just like, that's why I say we're blessed. Like, I think that you don't always find a person who like
is like-minded.
Who you just mesh with and you are in a relationship with. And I think it helps us to navigate life and like our marriage.
Y'all definitely are blessed, 'cause let me tell you something, man. Some of these things that y'all are just meshing on, people need to be having conversations about, for sure.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
But I know we're about to cut to a break. When we come back, I know two things I wanted to ask. For one, let's dive into your parenting relationship, because that's, you know, a part of, you know, y'all's union. But I also wanted to ask about, you said it's an 8-year difference, right? What is that experience like, you know? but you know what I'm saying? I think it's a great thing, because, you know, when we get back, relationships matter.
Relationships matter.
Welcome back to Relationships Matter. So while we were talking during the break, you mentioned that neither one of you had children prior to you meeting. And so there's an 8-year difference, and I find that to be amazing, being that you have an 8-year lead and not, you know, bringing any children.
That is
Talk more about
that is a really nice way of putting that.
So I mean, just to be like, when I was a kid, my mom had me like so scared about, see, I'm not even lying, because I call my mom Jesus' little sister, right? So she's a Christian. She has like degrees in Christian education, but she raised me in the church. So like she was always just like, if you have the first time you have sex, you either gonna get a girl pregnant or you gonna get AIDS. That was straight up. And I know that's like, I know that's crazy, but I mean like.
And you believed it.
Yeah, I was mad paranoid like my whole life. So I moved. I mean, but I had relationships, you know, but I never was actively trying to have kids because in my mind, I always wanted to be married and to have kids. And I know that's like kind of cliche because some men don't really care about that. But like, I think there was a scene on Major Payne where he's out in the back grilling with the picket fence with Karen Parsons and the little boy Tiger. I was like, that's what I envisioned for me, like a nice house, picket fence, wife and kids, right? So I never was actively trying to have kids. Never did it.
But I think it goes to show too in the teaching as well, because it is possible. Like if you raise your kids to be however, then that's what they're gonna think. That's what they're gonna be. So I think, you know, the scare.
She scared me.
The scare tactic. You know, I don't know if that worked in 2024. Boy, they buck out. Yeah.
And it didn't stop me, but it was always. I think it was always in the back of my mind. Like you need to. Don't just have babies everywhere. And some of my friends have babies, and I see how, like you said, how it affects a situation where they have a wife, and then they have to deal with a baby mom, or they got another kid. And not saying that it can't work. Like I'm not hating on anybody who has that situation, but I think that it just adds another level of like something that you have to deal with another person, getting your person to have to deal with another person. So yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great way to look at it. Now, touching on this 8-year gap, because I mean, it's a lot of, you know, first of all, just asking from your opinion, both of y'all, since y'all are in this, what is the cutoff? So if, you know, y'all got 2 girls, and they come home with an old Negro, what's the cutoff? I'm just asking.
You just asked me that.
That means that's a great question. There we go.
I mean, I guess it would depend on the child. I mean, because as a parent, you know your child and their maturity level and what they can handle. I don't know. I don't think I would be having it. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna be having it.
I don't know what age, because it like she was 23 and I was 31, right? And when I met her dad was like, "You're 31," and it's the first time I had ever met him in person. But then he has like an 8-year age difference with his wife. So I was kind of like, once I learned, like, man, you're 8 years older than your wife. But I think, I don't know, like I don't know how to say it. Like I think it's more about like she said, the maturity level, the mentality of the man and the woman who's going into it. Like when I met her, I was in college, so there were a bunch of young girls. And I was talking to a few different girls before I met her, but their minds weren't right. Like it was like you could tell they had kind of like a goofy mentality, like they were young-minded. Yeah. When I met her, we hit it off with conversation. I'm a talker. She like was in the conversation with me. And I just felt like she carried herself different, but I think it was because she was out here by herself. Like I said, her mom is in Indiana, so she's living out here in Georgia by herself. So I think just the level of like having to go grocery shop and having to do things kind of like elevated her mentality to where it wasn't like she was a young-minded girl. So I was like, I didn't look at her like she was like young and immature. Right.
No, that's fair. Now, in regards to your baby girls, what do you, as a father, like, what kind of game would you give them? You know what I mean? If
it's a great question.
So I always say I'm gonna give it to them all the way, all the way raw, just because.
Because you know.
Yeah, because I was outside all the way. You know, I mean, like for real. So I see certain signs. So I'm just gonna tell them like, Daddy knows what it is, but I don't ever want to be preachy to where I scare them off and they don't really like respect me or want, not respect me, but don't really want to listen to what I'm saying. Like daddy thinks he knows everything. He's just telling us all this stuff. I just want it to come from a place like, daddy did this. This is what this is. You see this? This is what this is. Some guys are like this. Some guys are like this. You know, so.
What's your cutoff in terms of age?
For them.
No, I'm talking about for you. Just in general, with the age gap, did you have like a number in your head, or did you even give it any thought?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I didn't. I wasn't, she was the youngest woman I ever dated. A lot of the people who I talked to, we were in high school together.
Right.
So we were all like the same age. Like I said,
yeah.
I never really like went to the club, but I wasn't like, ooh, hey girl, what's up? Let me get your number type deal, or here's my number. So it was always primarily like the same age as me, but when I seen her, I didn't really know that you were only 23, but it worked out.
It worked out.
So one of the things that I thought about, because y'all been together for 12 years, seen each other grow and you know, been very helpful for each other's growth as well. What do you feel at this point is something that you both still have room to grow in for each other, for your relationship?
You got it. What you think?
What do I think?
Well, it's for both. Yeah. So it's like, what do you feel like that he, you know, can grow in, and then, you know, what do you feel like she can grow in?
Well, we just talked about it. I think that with our girl, okay, it's a house full of women, so I know it's a lot for him.
Yeah.
I think that with
Estrogen overload.
yeah, I mean, just the patience and like the compassion and empathy for. Because they're little girls, you know, for their emotions. I know it's all over the place, but you just gotta bear with them.
And I receive it because I've never, sometimes, and I don't know why, but sometimes when I see, and I don't want to even just say women, but just people crying, sometimes it like bothers me. Like if they come to me, and I know that's not really a good quality to have. Like
bothers you in what way?
Like it's annoying. Like sometimes like I don't want to deal with it. And like my youngest daughter was crying the other night. Like she's about to be 8. So she's like growing. She's, you know, learning different things, and I can just see her like being more in touch with different emotional things, and like understanding death. And like my dad died, and like I think she didn't really understand that he's never coming back, right?
Gotcha.
But now she's starting to understand that. So she's like, Daddy, I don't ever want you to die type deal. So like I can see she's starting to understand more about life, right? But she was taking a shower, and she called me in there to get out the shower, and she was about to cry, and I was just like, oh my God, like Aries, come in here and talk to her, because I didn't really know what to say to her in the moment. And we didn't get into it, but it was kind of like, you need to be able to deal with that better, because that's your daughter. And I understand that. Like, so now I'm like on this like self-awareness journey to where I'm trying to be more conscious of like, because I don't ever want her to feel like she can't talk to me. Like the day after, she had something that she wanted to say, but she asked my wife to go upstairs so she could tell my wife without me. And I'm just like, that's not cool. Like
that made you feel.
Yeah, so when she said it to me, and then I seen her say that, I'm like, okay, I gotta do better. Are
you tapped in emotionally? Do you feel?
I think so. I mean, I think sometimes it's a lot, because of, like she said, I'm in the house with all girls, and like sometimes it's emotional, even with her. And so sometimes I don't really know how to deal with it. I'm just like, oh my goodness, like it's like it's like crazy. Like there's so much like women nature in here. Like what am I supposed to do? And sometimes I just don't react the right way. Not like a crazy man, like I'm screaming on anybody or anything, but sometimes I think it's like flight. Like I don't know how to handle a situation in the moment to where it's like, hey baby, it's gonna be okay. You know, like I should have just hugged her, but Aries has told me that before.
It requires you to be vulnerable.
Exactly.
And you don't want to go to that space.
Exactly.
My dad is the same way. When I was going through something, he said, it hurts just to talk to you. I don't want to talk to you because the decision that I was making, he didn't agree with. And he was like, it hurts just to talk to you.
And she's told me that, like, I'm going through something, she's crying, and I'm just like, what's wrong? Like, what, like, why are you upset? Why are you crying? Instead of just, I love you, like giving her a hug. And that's what she told me she needed in those moments. Like, don't say too much. I don't really need you to try to talk me out of how I'm feeling or anything. Just give me a hug.
Just be present.
Yeah. So like, I'm like trying to ingrain that in me and remember just to, it's gonna be okay, babe. I love you, you know, and just hug her in the moment. And then maybe when she's ready, she'll come back to me and say, hey, this is what was wrong. Instead of making it about myself, trying to figure out what's wrong in that moment, just giving her the space and the time and the opportunity to come back to me when she's ready.
Yeah.
So for her,
there you go, because I saw like
to grow, I would just say the vocalization and the communication. I mean, it's just something that we've always talked about in our marriage. It's just really important for us to be open communicatively. Like, we have to be able to talk. I don't know how you feel if you don't tell me. You don't know how I feel if I don't tell you, you know? And it's like, I think sometimes in my mind, I'm scared of like the lack of communication, and then I think I might be doing something wrong. And
you
then
make your own narrative.
Yeah, in my mind, because I don't know.
But that's so opposite of what you typically see in relationship where the woman doesn't talk. Because most times the woman wants to talk.
Yeah.
So what goes on in those moments, Aries? What are you thinking?
I'm just real in my head, and I like to like process things completely through before I speak them. And sometimes
that's like a guy. So it's like reverse.
Yeah. And sometimes I might say
and
something.
I'm like you.
if it
I
comes
create
up,
my
it's
own
coming out.
narrative. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not always good.
Yeah.
And that has gotten me in trouble a few times, like saying things that I don't mean because I'm a little bit mad, and then I got to double back and apologize. Like, I was upset. I didn't mean it that way, or not fully thinking out what I'm trying to say before I say it. Because, you know, sometimes you could be thinking something and then it comes out a totally different way.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it creates a whole nother situation, right? But yeah, just the communication, just so I don't ever want to wake up one day and she's like, I haven't been happy for 10 years and I didn't know that.
Is that on you or is that on her? If that's not, you know what I'm saying? Like, just in the grand scheme, like, for example, like, because that happens.
It does. It definitely does. People grow
and that's
apart.
Crazy.
It definitely does. And that's one thing, like, a relationship could go south without it being financial problems, without someone cheating. Like, you could grow apart, right? So I think that I've experienced the others, and now I'm like, am I ever going to experience like growing apart? So I can't prevent that. But like, I think that if we're communicating and you're telling me like, you know, my likes are changing. Some of the things that I like to do are changing, or like, I used to like to do this with you, but I don't like to do it anymore. So I'm going to make sure that we do more of what you like to do. I mean, still what I like to do, but just a balance of making sure that I'm talking to you along the way, so that I know where your mind is, you know where my mind is, and we can stay on the same wavelength.
Yeah.
No, that's truly beautiful, man. We're going to wrap this thing up. But before we wrap, it's my time to shine on behalf of Relationships Matter.
Hey.
But I'm just big on giving flowers, man, and showing love. And I think it's important, man, that you all have a beautiful story. You know, we've touched on some things that we haven't touched on in other conversations we've had before. And I think it's important the way that you both articulated your thoughts. I can definitely see the love that's on that chair, the appreciation for each other, and the acknowledgement that, hey, we're in this thing for the long haul. We understand where we want to grow, what we want to do, and how we want to do it. And the fact that, you know, you both are married. Y'all been together for 12 years, going on 100 more.
Absolutely.
Y'all got two beautiful baby girls together.
Yeah.
You know, no shade to anybody else. I got kids outside of my relationship, but the fact that y'all are an example of something that's different.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And you're doing it in a way that is for y'all and setting that example. And then we didn't get a chance to touch on it, but y'all are spiritually in tune, you know? Y'all are mentally and emotionally and everything else in tune. And I just think it's beautiful for people to see. And it was no knock or anything, just asking, because I just genuinely wanted to know, right? When I was asking you about the age difference and stuff like that. And it's no disrespect, no nothing. I'm coming from a place of love. But I think that when we see what we see today, you know, that there are people in these spaces, and they're in these spaces doing things for the wrong reasons, you know. And the fact that you were like, look, I just saw a woman that I liked a lot. And it took a year plus 60 days and 2 shots fired. But the fact that she noticed you as well.
Yeah.
And that's how the universe can work when it's bringing 2 people together to be divinely, you know, together and loving each other. So I just want to salute y'all, man, for you, Queen, being an example for young ladies to follow. You definitely are super classy, hold yourself, you know, at an amazing high regard, you know what I'm saying? But your king, the same thing.
Thank you,
You know what I mean? You being an example as well. And for me personally, I love the fact that even though you fell and bumped your head and had that moment, but it shows a woman, because we typically don't hear that in our community, where we see a woman hold a man down.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And vice versa. So salute to both of you all.
Thank you.
Thank you for being a part of this conversation.
Thank you.
We truly appreciate y'all, a part of this RM family. # purpose partners, you feel me? So y'all keep doing what y'all do, man, but thank you. Love to you both, and we appreciate y'all. Next time, relationships matter.
Relationships matter.